Most drivers assume a traffic arrest leads to a single courtroom event. You go before a judge, present your case, and receive a verdict. Under Maryland law, an arrest instantly triggers two separate legal machines, operating at the same time. These systems do not share a common rulebook. They have different burdens of proof, different prosecutors, and entirely different sets of punishments. Look at this diagram of the Maryland legal architecture. A single DUI arrest under Transportation Article 21902 instantly splits into two horizontal tracks. On the top, the criminal proceeding in district court. On the bottom, the administrative proceeding handled by the Motor Vehicle Administration. The top track is strictly criminal. This is where a judge determines if you face incarceration, criminal fines, court-ordered probation, and the lasting weight of a conviction on your record. The bottom track is entirely administrative. The MVA uses this process exclusively to determine whether to suspend or revoke your driving privileges under Maryland's implied consent law. Notice the speed differential. The MVA track moves much faster, crashing into an automatic license suspension long before your first criminal court date even arrives. This acceleration is the primary danger for a defendant. The state is not waiting for your trial to dismantle your ability to drive. The deadlines to stop that bottom track begin expiring within days of the arrest. Because these tracks are independent, securing a victory in front of a judge does not turn off the MVA machine. Ignoring the administrative paperwork guarantees an automatic loss of your license, even if the criminal charges are eventually dismantled in court. The administrative action begins the moment you fail or refuse a chemical test. The officer physically confiscates your Maryland driver's license on the spot. In its place, you receive a temporary 45-day paper license and an official order of suspension. On the MVA timeline, the order of suspension starts a rapid 45-day countdown. At the beginning is a narrow statutory window to request a hearing. If it closes without a request, the track locks, automatically forfeiting your driving privileges. Filing that hearing request on time is the only legal mechanism available to stay or pause the effective date of the suspension while you prepare a defense. The severity of that suspension depends on the data. A test result between 0.08 and 0.14 triggers a 180-day suspension. Refusing the test entirely escalates the penalty to a 270-day suspension for a first offense. To maintain driving privileges during these periods, the state often mandates entry into the Ignition Interlock System program. This restricts you to operating only vehicles equipped with a breath testing device, with standard participation periods lasting 6 months, 1 year, or 3 years for repeat offenses. Rapid legal intervention is a mechanical necessity. You must freeze the administrative machine before these statutory defaults execute against your daily life. Maryland law scales its penalties dynamically. The rules become significantly harsher depending on the specific class of license you hold. Switching to a commercial driver's license drops the DUI limit from 0.08 to 0.04. Any trace of alcohol triggers a mandatory 24-hour out-of-service order. A first conviction causes a 1-year CDL disqualification, or 3 years if transporting hazardous materials. The impact of a conviction extends far beyond the courtroom or the MVA. Government employees and civilian contractors are bound by mandatory reporting requirements to their agencies immediately upon a conviction or certain findings. The presence of a criminal conviction or even an administrative finding of substance use creates an active threat to security clearances. Individuals holding state-issued professional licenses in medicine, law, or finance face disciplinary boards based on the exact same arrest data. On a personal level, the loss of a license severs your ability to handle custody exchanges, attend medical appointments, and provide reliable family transportation. Treating a serious traffic charge as a minor citation ignores a chain reaction of career-ending penalties for professionals and commercial operators. Returning to the top track, the criminal court proceeding, we have to examine how the state builds its case. A police report is an initial hypothesis of your guilt, not empirical proof. Deconstructing a police report isolates variables the state must prove. Reason for stop is cross-referenced with dispatch logs to verify legality. Field test admin is mapped against body camera footage. BAC output is tested against maintenance records to verify calibration. We also look for environmental anomalies, poor weather, lack of lighting, uneven road surfaces, or improper footwear, which can compromise the officer's physical observations. The data required to prove these anomalies is highly volatile. Body camera footage is frequently overwritten, and dispatch logs are routinely purged by local departments. Waiting for your first court date allows this evidence to disappear, removing your ability to challenge the officer's narrative. The state's hypothesis remains presumed true by the system unless you systematically dismantle it by securing and testing the unedited digital and physical evidence. When we pull back and view the complete architecture of a Maryland serious traffic charge, a third dimension appears. Beneath the criminal and administrative tracks lies the Maryland point system. This ledger has strict thresholds: 3 points for warning, 8 for suspension, and 12 for revocation. Criminal court convictions flow downward, depositing points here. A DUI instantly drops 12 points into the system. To avoid these points and a formal conviction, the defense often pursues a negotiated outcome in the criminal track, known as probation before judgment, or PBJ. PBJ has a critical limitation. It does not erase MVA consequences, prevent administrative suspensions, or eliminate ignition interlock mandates. If points from other offenses accumulate, they independently push a driver into suspension status, overriding any leniency granted by a criminal court judge. Pleading guilty quickly to avoid a trial is often the easiest result for the court system to process, but it is frequently the most legally damaging path for the driver. Navigating this requires a synchronized defense, one that fights the evidentiary battles in criminal court while actively managing the administrative checkpoints at the MVA. Immediate action is required to preserve fading evidence and secure hearing requests before statutory deadlines permanently close your options. Safeguarding your freedom, professional license, and career requires a strategy that dismantles every layer of this legal architecture at once.